Hello and welcome to the Shubh Report, bringing you the top global and US stories that truly matter to all of us. After months of devastating conflict, a US brokered ceasefire between Israel and Hamas finally took effect this week. Under the agreement, Hamas will release 20 Israeli hostages, while Israel will free around 2,000 Palestinian prisoners. The ceasefire also opens limited humanitarian aid channels into Gaza. President Trump is set to visit Israel and Egypt to co-chair a peace summit in Sharm el-Sheikh aimed at solidifying this fragile truce. This ceasefire could mark the first real step toward ending one of the deadliest conflicts of recent years. For ordinary people, it means the possibility of peace for families torn apart by war, the flow of aid to civilians, and a reduction in regional instability that affects global trade and security. However, the deal remains fragile, and the coming days will test whether diplomacy can hold where violence has failed. In a speech this week, IMF Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva warned that the global economy is entering an era where quote-unquote uncertainty is the new normal. Rising debt, unstable markets, and slowing growth are testing the resilience of both developed and developing economies. She pointed to surging gold prices, a traditional safe haven, and falling investor confidence as signs of growing anxiety. Economic uncertainty doesn't just affect Wall Street, it trickles down to Main Street. Higher costs, fewer jobs, and tighter credit impact families and small businesses. For everyday people, it means being more cautious with spending, savings, and investments. The IMF's warning is a reminder that financial instability anywhere can ripple everywhere. Two powerful earthquakes struck the Davao region of the Philippines on October 10th, with magnitudes of 7.4 and 6.7. Hundreds of aftershocks followed, leaving over 10 people dead and more than 1,000 injured. Buildings collapsed, power was disrupted, and tsunami warnings were briefly issued for parts of Mindanao. Rescue operations are ongoing, supported by local and international aid agencies. Natural disasters like this remind us how vulnerable we all are to nature's power. For common people, it underscores the importance of strong infrastructure, rapid response systems, and international cooperation in times of crisis. It also shows how solidarity, through donations, relief efforts, and awareness, can make a real difference in saving lives. Now I will be moving on to the top 3 news in America. The United States announced plans to impose 100% tariffs on Chinese imports starting November 1st, accusing Beijing of violating trade agreements. China fired back, warning of countermeasures and accusing the US of fueling an economic confrontation. The announcement has already shaken markets and increased fears of a new trade war. Trade wars don't stay in government halls, they reach your wallet. Tariffs drive up prices on electronics, clothing, and other everyday products. They also disrupt jobs linked to global supply chains. For American consumers, that means higher prices and less purchasing power. For businesses, it's uncertainty about what the next quarter will bring. Minutes released from the Federal Reserve's September meeting revealed deep divisions among policymakers over whether to cut interest rates. Some officials argued the economy needs relief from high borrowing costs, while others warned that cutting too early could reignite inflation. The ongoing government shutdown adds further complexity to the decision. The Fed's choices affect everyone with a mortgage, car loan, or credit card. Keeping rates high means continued strain on household budgets, while cuts could bring temporary relief but long-term risk. For everyday Americans, it's a balancing act between affordability and inflation control, both of which shape daily financial stability. The US Supreme Court began its new term this week, taking on major cases about presidential power, elections, and transgender participation in sports. Legal analysts say this could be one of the most consequential sessions in recent history, with rulings that may redefine executive authority and civil rights in America. Supreme Court decisions often outlast political administrations, shaping laws for generations. These rulings will influence not only national policy, but also the daily rights and freedoms of millions. For common people, it's a reminder that the court's decisions are not abstract. They directly affect equality, democracy, and justice in everyday life. From the fragile Gaza ceasefire and global economic uncertainty to natural disasters in Asia and political turbulence in Washington, these are the stories shaping our world this week. I'm Shubh, and this is the Shubh Report, bringing you the world, one story at a time.